I think one of the things that people forget about is that to accomplish anything, you have to have an unusual amount of consistency day in and day out, whatever you're doing. And it's really not about accomplishing a bunch of stuff on a weekend. Sometimes you do get a lot of stuff like that done, but a larger part of what most people do to accomplish something is just doing it every day. It's that consistency day in, day out. And I wanted to talk about that. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Massack. I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I wanted to pay the favor for, to help you out as much as I possibly can. So it's really not, to achieve something. School education has a lot of problems with how it's sort of organized, but it's simply just because we're trying to teach people as much as we possibly can in a certain amount of time. And there are, these tight timelines, and most people sort of think that it's all about doing things within these tight timelines where you're trying to get something done very quickly and you accomplish something very, very quickly, like sort of sprints. And that is an important thing, right? Like there is a significant amount of stuff that gets done in a sprint, but for the most part, what we forget about, it is the consistency of doing something day in and day out. It is the monotony, the boredom, it is very consistent. There's nothing fancy. And you have to do that every day before you actually build something that is meaningful. This is something that I've talked about before in this podcast and on my YouTube channel. But it's very much this consistent effort, day in and day out, that accomplishes something. And you have to put your blinders on for an unusual long period of time. Most people will never pay off their mortgage. Most people will, get upset with paying off car loans. Most people will not accomplish a significant innovation in their life because they're not thinking about this consistency. They're thinking about the quick win. They're thinking about getting something done very as fast as they possibly can. But it's the boring day in and day out, that matters. There's an old paper. It's called Time Discontinuities, I believe. I'm blanking on it. It's Derelicts and Cool from many years ago, and they were talking about that there's a lot of stuff that we forget about that just cannot be compressed, and we can't sort of rush things quickly. We just have to do things day in and day out, and just have to do the monotony to accomplish important big things. And if you rush them, it just does not happen. You get to the point where you actually make a lot of mistakes. Then if you rush it, you can have problems that creep up, all sorts of things. Now, does that mean you cannot rush things? No, that's not true. You can rush things if you dedicate enormous amounts of resources to it to get it quicker, and realize that there is a risk involved, that there could be something that screws up from it. Now you can validate to make sure that it is not as risky as you think it is, by validating rigorously after the fact, and making sure that it is what you're expecting it to do. But that's hard to do for most things. And building knowledge, doing something innovative, paying off your mortgage, whatever it is gonna be that consistency every day. And I think we do a disservice of not talking about consistency, not talking about the sort of boring, mundane stuff of getting up and doing it over and over and over and over again. Just like, this podcast. You might think that I'm crazy of doing this all the time, but that's how you actually build something. It's just consistency. It's just absolute boring, just the same thing, repetition, and you have to drill it into your head. That's how you actually accomplish something. It's never ever about those quick wins. Those quick wins do happen, but for them to actually happen, you need to have that consistency behind it. It's like if you're a competitive swimmer or runner or whatever, you're never going to get those performance gains if you don't put in the time and effort for months and months and months. And then once you put in those months and months and months, you have incremental improvements day in and day out. And so a lot of days you don't. A lot of days you actually go backwards. But every once in a while, because you put in those performance gains, you sort of realize the right movement and something just clicks. And then you get a quantum jump, that sort of hyper jump in your performance that couldn't have been possible without putting in those just day in and day out and grinding it every day. So you have to remember to do that, be consistent and very deliberate with what you're doing and making sure you don't give up. That's the important thing. So with that, hopefully you get something from this. Take care and have a wonderful day.